tape from the mountains of West Virginia.
Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us a final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. Then it's time to turn your pods up, because we're live to tape from the mountains of West Virginia. It's time once again for Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
Live to tape from the mountains of West Virginia, it's another episode of Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. Thank you for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, I met my friend OS over the summer of 2023 in Weyers Cave, Virginia at the Bigfoot convention. He had a very interesting display of a huge tree twist. OS reports that this was not done by nature or by a human. We're going to find out the story behind this tree twist along with his experience as a Bigfoot witness. Welcome to Let's Find Out, my good friend OS. Now, OS, I've been trying to get you on this show for several months, and I know our schedules didn't match up, but I met you over the summer in 2023. I believe it was in June, and this was in Weyers Cave, where you had a booth in a display where you had this artifact, a tree twist. Now, you told me the story then about how you were able to get a hold of this item. And as I'm looking at him, it's a rather big item that the way it was contorted and twisted, I don't think a human could do something like that. It would either have to use some sort of heavy machinery or something very powerful had to twist this tree trunk the way it is. I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but can you tell me the story? Can you tell us the story about this tree twist?
Yes. This location was in North Carolina, the same location where my wife had the experience in the tent. We went back. We were down there, and I had left my daughter wanted to leave a baby doll down there. So we did, and we went back a couple weeks later, and if I remember correctly, this was August. It was hotter than Hades down there because this is a dry campground. So only things there is a pit toilet. So very few people go there. And then we went back to look for the baby doll, and the baby doll was there, but it was face down on the ground. It was a little different, but so my daughter and I, who was young at the time, I think she was, she's about 5, but yeah, about 5 or 4. We started walking around the area to gather firewood for the night, and then we walked into the woods, and I saw this tree, which is a tuba poplar, and most of the trees down there are either blackjack pine, some hardwood, and some tuba poplar, but it's mostly blackjack pine. And I looked over and I saw this tree on the ground. Part of it's still sticking up and it's still green. I mean, it's fresh. And we walked over there. We're both taking pictures and looking at it. And the diameter, I would say the outside diameter on this tree twist, I'm guessing right off the top of my head, 8 inches, the outside diameter. And we're looking at it, and the rest of the trees on the ground. So it was twisted. The top part was twisted off, and the bottom part. And I'm looking at it, going, and I'm looking around at the other trees around it, and none of the other trees around there had any type of damage. No storm damage, no nothing. Only reason I know that because when I got back, I checked the local radar down there, and they've not had rain down there within a month. They're almost like in a drought down there. So I decided, it's like, wait a minute. So I had a couple other guys with me who also are researchers, and we all kept on looking at it and going, that ain't done by Mother Nature. So I decided to cut it down and bring it back. And when I got back, I started doing a lot of close examination on it, and then I realized the thing has been twisted 13 times clockwise, and if I remember right, 13 or 14 times counterclockwise. And I could not find any tool marks. No, not at all. I mean, you saw it down there down at the cave, down at the event. So quite a people have seen it, and no one has able to explain how this was done. But I can tell you, I can't say how Mother Nature would do that, like a tornado or any type of natural phenomenon. I mean, because why would it spin it clockwise then counterclockwise? But this area which we've gone down to is well known for, as I call him, Uncle Harry, is very known to be a very active area. And that same area, there hasn't been a bear sighted down in that area, and what they say, the last 10 years. So there's no bears really down there at all. There's a lot of deers. But when I found that, I was like, wow. Yeah, it just blew me away.
And now, how heavy is this? Is this thing?
It weighs about, well, it's mounted on the wood, but the wood weighs nothing. But that thing, I think, weighs about 30-40 pounds. So I have, when I brought dinner, I had to borrow an SUV so I could lay it down on the side. I can't. You saw how tall it was. I can't put that in the passenger seat of a car. So, yeah, but it was still green. I mean, the leaves on it was still green when I found it. So,
and it's been your experience being in the woods, whether you're hunting or camping or anything like that. You've never seen anything remotely close to something like that, have you?
I've seen other tree twists, but they're usually in one direction, twist it in one direction. And sometimes that might be to what I call Virginia creeper, which can go around a tree, and as it does, it makes a mark in a tree, constricts the tree from growing. And some people will look at that and go, "Oh, that's a tree twist." I said, "No. If you look, you can see the indentation, or like a Virginia creeper or poison ivy, as it gets thicker, it starts to constrict a tree." But I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, I've seen tree breaks. I saw one tree down in the same area, and I was with a couple other people, same researchers, and we taking this trail, and there was two pine trees, and then we looked up. There's one piece of wood which was horizontal between the two trees, but it was a good 20 feet off the ground. But the wood which was going between the two trees was a hardwood. It wasn't pine. And so we start walking around the area to see where it could have come from. We could not find any hardwood trees within, I guess, 40, 50, 60 yards of these two big, huge pine trees. And to me, it's like, that's a marker. But this area is well known for being very active down there.
No, it's like now when you were displaying this item down in Weyers Cave at the Bigfoot convention, um, how was it received? What I mean by that is, I think it was the most original thing at that convention. So I think it was quite a talk of the
Well,
day.
a lot of people came up to me and asked me, "What is that?" And I explained to them where I found it and how it came about. I mean, I even had other Bigfoot researchers come over to me and give me their business cards. And one guy gave me a book he wrote. Another guy gave me another book on tree structures. And these are BFRO guys, and some are independent researchers. And it's like, okay. And then even the guy, what's his name? The Turtle Man came over to me and says, "Where'd you find that at?" I explained to him. He's like, "Wow." He says he's never seen anything like that before in his adventures. But yeah, most of the people were very positive. A lot of people took a lot of photographs, which I didn't mind. But I just want to explain to them what I thought it was. I believe it was done by Uncle Harry. Like I said, there's no way a person could do that I know is that strong. And like I said, that there is no tool marks on there. I had people come over there and say, "You can look all you want, just don't cut it. Don't just look at it." I said, "Look with your eyes, not with your hands." You know what I'm saying? Because it's now starting to dry out, so it's getting a little brittle for me to transport. But otherwise, the response was very positive.
Well, that's the first time I actually seen anything like that, and I've seen replica footprints of Bigfoot, and just like you, I've received the books and I've talked to the researchers, but I've never seen something quite like that.
So, what's your opinion on it? Now I'm putting the shoe on your foot.
No, that's a perfectly good question. I think that I agree with you in the fact that no person could twist a tree quite like that. In fact, I don't think any machine could probably do it. I mean, it's possible, but it couldn't do it without leaving any type of marks. And this one just looks like it was done with just superhuman force.
But would you do it clockwise and then do it counterclockwise? I mean, it takes I mean, you're talking about a lot of strength. I mean, you're going to have a lot of upper body and some good sized hands and arms to do that. I mean, a green is probably easier to twist than a dead tree, but still, that size of wood, if anybody could do it, I'd love to see somebody try to duplicate that with their own hands.
I don't think they could. I definitely not with their bare hands or not even with gloves because I think it would tear your hands up pretty good.
Yeah.
On the prior episode where I interviewed your wife and she shared some of her experiences while going camping and in the woods in North Carolina and in Virginia, you were there during most of those experiences, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us your side of what it is that you saw? Because I know she spoke about what she's seen, but what about you?
Well, the first one she told you when I first got my recorder, because we had stopped by a place, and I've always wanted a voice actor recorder, and on the way back there's a wildlife management area, wildlife area. So we got there, and what she didn't tell you, we had just gone to a motorcycle meeting. It was a Christmas party. It was near Christmas time, so I had my leathers on. But anyway, when I got there and I said, "Hey, I'm going to go out in the woods. I want to try out this new recorder. I'm going to see if I can get some turkey calls." because I've heard a lot of turkey down there. So what I had done, I had changed out of my leathers, and I had blue jeans on, and I had a green jacket, and well, blue jeans, green brownish jacket. And I walked down the trail, and when I walked down the trail, I saw an opening, and I thought I heard turkey. I said, okay, I'm just going to walk in the woods real quietly and sit down there and turn the recorder on and see what I get. Well, I didn't know anything what happened with my wife, but when she finally called me on the radio, because we had radios also back then, she said, hey, it's time to go, blah, blah, blah. And when I came back, she said, when did you change? I said, I didn't. I changed before I went down there. She said, what I saw down there was brownish black or brown or whatever. She said it looked like the size of a 55-gallon barrel, whatever. I said, that wasn't me. As you can see, I had these clothes on. So that was the first experience that we both had together. I did not see anything. I did get some audio because it was getting dusk, so I know the turkeys were going to start to roost. And I did hear a couple clucks here and there, but that was about it. And it was getting late, and it's time to go. So that was that one. What was the next one she talked to you about?
There was the one where the handprint on the tent.
Oh, yes, that was North
Carolina. It was pressing on it. Yeah,
that's the same. That's the same place where I found the tree twist. The same camping area. Like I said, it's dry camping. Only thing there is a pit toilet. You got to bring everything in. I was out with a bunch of researcher guys. We were on top of the mountain, and my wife was down back at the camp with all the kids, with all the women folks. I'm not saying it right, but all the ladies decided to stay in camp, or us guys went up on top of the hill. We're sitting up there with I have night vision. I had at that time I had fifth generation night vision. We're sitting up there, and we were up there for quite a few. We were hearing. We could hear movement. We really didn't see much to the night vision. We did hear one tree knock. Actually, we heard two. One come from two different directions. So it was a series of 3 or 4 knocks. And I think when it comes to tree knocks, they identify how many are in the party, which there was 4 of us at the time. And it was getting late. The next thing I get my wife's sitting there yelling at me on the radio, get down here, what's going on? Somebody's messing with us. So I got back down the hill and back down to the campsite, and everybody who was in the campsite, we all knew each other, and I knew it wasn't any of the other women, and I know it wasn't the guys because we're all with me. So yeah, she was pretty freaked out that night. So yeah, and we've only been back there a couple times after that. You do not want to go there in August. Trust me.
Is it because of the heat?
The ticks are so bad down there. The heat, and you also can see the ticks walking along the grounds. On the ground.
Hell no. No,
it's that
ain't happening.
It's really heavily infested down there with ticks.
Now, she did mention the one part where there was a log that was tossed towards her direction, and she thought it was you.
Yeah, that was West Virginia. We were up there with another bunch of researchers. It's about, from where I live, it's about 4.5, 5 hours. I mean, there is a river runs through the place. There is a bathhouse there. I mean, I like going up there because there's no cell phone coverage. It's nice and quiet up there. But I had gone up the hill, and the hill is almost to one point when I went up the hill, you almost can't stand. You cannot almost not stand straight up and down. You're almost on your hands and knees. But I just went up there because something told me something's unique up there. Now I did get up there. It's very steep, and there you can see there's a deer trail running along the side of this hillside. I mean, well, side of a mountain. I think it is, because nothing in that where I go there, nothing. All the hills or mountains there are extremely steep. But I had got up there and I was sitting there walking along the trail real slowly. Then I decided just to sit down, and I'm watching this pine tree sway back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, this is uh, this is during the summertime. There was no wind. It was a complete sunny day, and I'm watching this one tree just go back. It's like someone was taking a broom and waving it in the air. But that's this tree was just swaying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I sat there for quite a while. I was like, what is causing this tree to do this? Now, no, there is black bears up there. I've run into plenty of black bears up there, but why would a black bear keep on swinging this tree back and forth? I mean, it wasn't a huge tree, but it wasn't a little scrub. I think it was probably, I know it was probably a blackjack pine, but I think it's maybe 4 inches around, something like that. But I'm sitting there just watching it, and the thing is, I couldn't smell anything because I was downwind from it. So I there was no breeze at all. But then my wife calls me on the radio, and she says, "Why are you running down the trail? And why are you throwing logs at me?" And going, I have not moved at all. I've been sitting in the same spot the whole time. So she calls up the other researchers on the radio, and they come over there, and they're down there on the trail. And I said, I'm still up here. And the one guy tells my wife, says, "Oh, I can sneak up that hill behind your husband." And my wife said, "Yeah, good luck with that one." When he came up the hill, he sounded like a herd of elephants. he he was falling down. Yeah, he had a few choice words every time he fell. But yeah, that place is very active too. Um, um, I actually, that same camping trip, we went up to a cove. There was 13 of us. We had split into two groups, and I was with one group up ahead of the trail, and the other group was we're on the same trail, but this is in a very, I would call a hollow. It's very steep, and there's a creek that runs through there, and a couple of us have night visions, and I did not bring my recorder with me, which I could have, which was stupid, but anyway, I didn't. So we're in this cove there, and we were seeing eye shine. We were seeing eye shine all over the place. And one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he brought a bunch of apples with us. And he decided he was going to chuck them into the creek area. Here, we're going to give you an apple. Well, that apple came flying out of there with such force. I didn't see it, but the other guys did. They said the apple came out with such flying force when it hit the tree next to the guy's head, it exploded like applesauce. Everybody was wearing headlamps. They all had red headlamps on. And I said, wow. But he was in the back group. I was in the front group. And I decided to walk up away from everybody maybe about 40 yards ahead to see if I could see anything with my red headlamp. And there's one researcher, she had night vision, and she said, "You walked up to something." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "You had your red headlamp on, and only thing I could see," because she was looking to night vision. She says, "When that red headlamp hit whatever it was," she said, "it was not a tree." She said it looked like an extremely athletic basketball player. She said, "Your headlamp, I'm 6 foot." She said, "Your headlamp was hitting it around uh like his belly area, or lower part of his chest." She said, "That thing could have reached out and touched you." I did not see it at all. I did not see it at all. But then I came back, and there was rocks being thrown back and forth, not by us, by them. I'm small rocks. I mean, they were coming towards us, not hitting anybody, but they were just laying there. We were up there for a good 2-3 hours, and then we heard a howl. It sounded exactly or very similar to the Ohio howl. It was so loud you could feel it in your chest. I mean, it was just reverberating. And then that's when everybody in both groups got on the radio and said, "Nope, we're done." So us from the top group start walking down to meet up with the first group. And that's when both groups met, and something had built a small TP structure on the trail between us. And everybody swears that they had nothing to do with it. So we all went back to the campground that night, and the next day I went up there and took my camcorder and videotaped the whole area. You can see the apple damage. You can see the marks on the trees. I did get video of the tree structure, the little teepee thing that everybody left alone. I interviewed everybody that night. What was their experience? But that's the same place where she had the log thrown at her. I've been up there quite a few times afterwards.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Judy on the prior episode. Other than these experiences you had in the woods, I'll say in current time, before this, like say in your youth or anything like that, did you have any types of experiences?
I can't say yes and can't say no, because my father would take us camping. Um, God, I've been camping since I was 3 or 4 years old. When my dad got out of the military, and he would come home, and on a Friday, the car would be packed up. We'd be up in the mountains camping just about every bloody weekend. I think only maybe experience that got me interested in this um, when I was in the Boy Scouts, and my dad and I went to Philmont, which is in Cimarron, New Mexico. We had some interesting experiences down there, which made us go, very interesting, because that Boy Scout ranch is huge, but it's also a lot of Native American down there. So I really didn't have any sightings, but we did hear things. I mean, like I say, even when my dad took me camping, we all went family camping. Some of the places my father would go camping, I mean, it was extremely remote. And I know what a bear sounds like. I've heard bears pop their jaws. If you never heard that, it's pretty loud. So I know what a bear sounds like, and I know what a deer sounds like when they're doing when they snort it, you won't know other than that. But other than that, my youth, no. Um, my dad and I used to go out a lot as I got older, and we basically, my father and I would just bushwhack and go look for stuff. But some of the experiences we've had, it made us go, okay, there's something to this. What I call Uncle Harry, that this is not just myth. It's got to be, because when there's myths, it's usually legends. Legends has some point of some factual truth to them. They're not fairy tales.
Right.
So
I'll ask you this before we go. Going back to the tree twist, because I'm very
yes,
fascinated
sir.
by this artifact that you have. Have you had any offers to purchase this off of you or anything like that?
Yes, and my answer has been no. No. It's something I found. I'm not interested in selling it. I have no problem people taking a look at it, taking photographs of it, but no, I'm not going to sell it. Why? I'm not in for a monetary gain. This is something I found. I know they did. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out there to prove to the world they exist. I know they exist. I'm just doing this for my own satisfaction. I mean, I must have close to 1,000 hours worth of audio. I had got audio up there in the same place in West Virginia. It was just me and another researcher in the same camping area. The whole campground was empty, and I had set up my microphones and my shotgun microphones and all that. And when I was reviewing them, I could hear them speaking, and I couldn't understand it. So I sent to a friend of mine, and she says, "Oh, that's a Lakota. That's a Lakota." I says, "Okay," and she translated, and she says, "Clay people eat red meat," which she meant. When I understood what was said then, because my friend and I, we had just cooked a steak that night, and I cooked my steaks rare. My wife says she hates them. I call it the heartbeat of America. But anyway, that was a very interesting recording. So, and that's where I had one of my first sightings up there, in my little camper there. I remember that night. That's a whole nother story too.
No, and then when I have you back on the show later in the year, if you don't mind sharing that story, because I think we're onto something here.
Okay. I mean, I've been out with quite a few researchers. I've met Igor. Um, I met the gentleman one of the gentlemen who was there with the Sierra Sounds. I met him and his daughter at the Ohio conference. I've met quite a few researchers. I have had quite a few run-ins with Matt Moneymaker. He's interesting. He's an interesting character. I mean, he's nice, but Matt's Matt. You take Matt as Matt. You know what I'm saying? But he's a nice guy. Most of all, he's a nice guy.
Well, so far, a lot of the people that I've interviewed or met, whether they're authors or researchers, have been very nice. And in closing, will you be doing any more of these conventions in 2024?
I'll probably do something with Daniel. If Daniel does something, and if I have the time, well, I mean, if he wants me to bring my twist down again, I will. I'm not too much of a public speaker. I mean, I like talking people one-to-one. I'm not interested in doing a big audience. You know what I'm saying? That way I can reenact with one person one-on-one, and I can get a feel for them and answer their questions. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yes,
doing
and
with you.
Yes, no, you did that with me last summer at the Weyers Cave, and I really appreciate your time and coming on the show. And I look forward to having you back because I know you have a plethora of other stories you can share.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I still go out. Um, I enjoy going out. I mean, sometimes sometimes you just go out and go fly fishing. I also do gold prospecting here in Virginia. So there's plenty of gold here in Virginia if you know where to look for it.
Well, I believe you have gold right there with a tree twist, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I can melt down the gold. I can't melt down that tree twist.
You're absolutely right about that, my friend.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you. If any of your listeners have any questions, you can pass them on to me and we'll go from there.
I will certainly do that, my friend. This has been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. Please check us out on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, all of our social media pages, YouTube, and we're also on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Thank you for listening to Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, and on Anchor. For more information about Let's Find Out with co-host Diego, please visit us on facebook.com/co-host Diego, on Twitter at co-host_Diego, and on Instagram as co-host Diego. Copyright co-host Diego. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of co-host Diego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, co-host Diego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.
Moonlight Monster Media presents the Steeds Ridge DVDs, Steeds Ridge posters, stickers, Moonlight Monster Media mugs, and Moonlight Monster Media t-shirts.